Well, hello again. Welcome back to New Eyes Open. Today, I showing up for myself again, showing up for you, encouraging you to show up for yourself in whatever way, whatever that means to you, whatever way you are feeling called to show up for yourself. However, there is a tendency this time of year, and I mentioned it in the last couple videos, that this whole new year, new you, that kind of vibe is it's really old. And it is historically inaccurate because we are actually still in an in-between time. And so whenever you're watching this video, so I am scheduling this out at the beginning of January 2026, and this is not the time to set New Year's resolutions. And for many people right now, and I know I have felt this way. I was looking back over patterns from this last 9-year cycle that we are not done with yet. And just thinking about, what had come up, there's a whole lot has happened since 2017, like for all of us. I don't care who you are, a lot has happened in your life since 2017. I would bet on it. So definitely the case with me. And I know that there were many times, and even still sometimes for me, there's this whole idea like envision what you want next. And I have a problem with that, a little bit of a problem with that. So number one, sometimes it's hard to tap into that vision because you don't know what you don't know. And often I have been shown we can't even fathom the awesome gifts that are available for us. And so you can't envision something that you can't even imagine. So there's thought number one. And then the other thing is, if you have had this massive upheaval of your life during, the last 12 months or the last, 9-year cycle or whatever, as so many of us have, like nobody came out of 2020 without having something massive happen personally. Even just collectively, we all went through something. So if you're standing at this in between, if you feel like you're standing at this in between point, and there's all this, you'll also simultaneously feel this pressure that, right now I need to be thinking about New Year's resolutions and what's next, and envisioning my future. And oh my gosh, I'm going to miss it if I don't envision it. Slow your roll. This is me encouraging you and myself to just settle down, take a deep breath, and recognize how far you've come. Number one, recognize that perhaps you can't envision what's next because there is something greater than you could ever imagine in store for you, and hold on to that hope and that belief. Because if you hold on to that belief, then that's what's going to happen for you. And then the other thing is, if you're just standing at this in between time, which we all are in one way or another, then it might be time to look back before you look forward and recognize what have you learned, what patterns have you seen. And I know for some of us, looking back is kind of a tender thing to do because maybe your entire life fell apart. I mean, I know mine sure did. um, and it's crazy how, the things that fell apart at the beginning of 2020 are just now like playing, that cycle is just now fully playing itself out. And so I encourage you to recognize that sometimes, and often, actually, often things fall apart, not because you failed, not because there's anything wrong with you. It's actually quite the opposite. It's usually because you outgrew a version of yourself that was built for survival, or survival during that specific period of your life. And so you're in this in between time of, you're not who you were. You're not quite sure who you were becoming. And so that can feel very disorienting. And one thing I would say is, ooh, with what's coming in the next several years, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is going to be a superpower for all of us. And it's going to be really necessary. And so just learning how to settle into the confusion and be okay with it, be okay with the uncertainty. I know that's probably not going to get any popularity points saying that, but it is what it is. And then recognizing that, okay, you are outgrowing, you are shedding an old version of yourself, and you are emerging into a new version of yourself that might not feel comfortable yet. You might not recognize yourself yet. And with that, recognize that confusion, and this is something I had to learn for myself. All of these are all directly from my own lived experience. So you're getting it from the horse's mouth. Confusion is not a sign that you're lost. It's really a sign that the map you once had that you were navigating your life by no longer fits the terrain that you were navigating. Okay. So we are tasked with the job of creating the new maps for this new terrain. And that, I mean, I often think about, I was a Latin American studies minor in college. And so looking back, I remember learning about like the original navigators, the original um, people who navigated the world and created the maps. And I just stand in awe at, wow, how did they orient themselves? How did they translate, where they were navigating to and from onto a piece of paper and a visual representation? I'm just in awe of that. But equally, I am in awe of each of us because we are essentially doing that same thing for our own selves, our own psyches. And with that, I don't think you need clarity first or to know what your vision is for the upcoming year. First off, we're still in an in-between time, as I said. It is time to, it is still time to prepare the soil, not even to plant seeds just yet. And so you don't need clarity, you need stability. And I'm going to give you some advice here that has worked for me. So stability for me as I navigate into this new version of myself looks like, to begin with, a grounded daily rhythm that gets me into my body. And so, back in 2020, when I first started this process, that looked like starting my day with a glass of water. Because as you're drinking water, in order to not choke, you have to pay attention to the water. And that's another thing in and of itself. Water holds memory. And so paying attention and drinking your water with intention can be a very powerful grounding experience. So, you know, hold a positive, loving intention as for yourself and for the water that you're drinking, and that pours into you, into your body. And that is, what comes out of your body as well. So you just shine out that loving intention that you have just nourished yourself with. Some other ideas back in 2017, actually, when this cycle first began, my grounding experience was going upstairs and sitting in complete silence for 5 minutes every morning. And I gradually increased it little by little, but 5 minutes was the bare minimum. And I would actually sit on the ground. It was on the floor upstairs, but it was a wooden floor, so you're still touching a material. But if you can get outside, right now, one of my grounding experiences that I do is I take a daily walk, and there are some trees on the property. Like, just stand there and notice the sturdiness and how they feel and how the sun feels baking on me and the tree next to me and the wind, and the air, the way that it flows. all of that, they say notice 5 things, 5 physical things around you that'll help immediately anchor you into the space where you are. That's an idea. Um, another really great thing is to either begin or end or do both. That's really awesome. Your day with sunlight, direct sun exposure. And so I'm not as great at this part. I want to. I want to get up and greet the sun every morning. I love, love, love looking at sunrise, but it just doesn't always happen. And I'm not one to force myself to do that. But on the mornings that I do wake up naturally before the sun rises, I do try to get out and, face myself east and actually allow those first rays of sun to hit me. It's really great for your circadian rhythm, which is another nourishing thing for yourself, your nervous system, is getting your circadian rhythm back aligned with nature so that you have a sound sleep every night, because sleep is when our body and our minds and our psyche all repair and work on integrating everything that's happened. And so the better sleep you get, the more equipped you are to face the world. And yeah. Um, and another thing, when I wouldn't have even thought about this, but I was going back through some of my old journals and just trying to pick out themes of what were things that I was saying to myself and what would I say to my younger self, or previous version of myself, if I could. And one of the things I said a lot was, what's wrong with me? I I had gone through a divorce. It was a very traumatic divorce. There was also a lot of trauma in my history that I was not aware of that surfaced as a result of the trauma from the divorce and everything that happened with it. And there was this dying of a dream, not only the dream of my marriage, also of kind of the religion that I was brought up in. I tell everybody my faith was made unshakable during this time, but religion was just shattered. Like, goodbye. um, and so there was a lot of this asking, what's wrong with me? Am I broken? No, you are not. You are not. You never were. And instead of that, I wish I would have started asking, and I did eventually, but during that time, there was a lot of asking that particular question, and I wish I would have replaced it with, what's no longer true for me? Because that is really, this brings us full circle to the beginning of this video when I said sometimes if you can't envision the future, it's because, everything that is broken down, that old identity that is now, composting away, it went away. Things fell apart, not because you're broken, not because you're a failure, not because you necessarily did anything wrong, rather because you are evolving into a different version of yourself. And you are outgrowing the version of yourself that was based on a survival mechanism. In human design language, we would say that was based on, deep conditioning. And you are starting the deconditioning process of who you thought you were, and you are becoming more of who you truly are. And so just start, thinking about it that way. Like, what is it time to let go of? What is no longer true? And allow those things to, allow those truths to bubble up, and then take some time to let those things go. Allow yourself to let go and to shed those things fully before we begin this new 9-year cycle, which actually begins in February. More on that another time. But yeah, so one of the things that I've been speaking to over on my Instagram is this, I used to follow human design and gene keys, and that were based on tropical astrology, which is a system that was set in stone about 2,000 years ago, right around the time some other systems were set in stone. And that kind of froze the sky, or a map of the sky, at that particular point in time. And that's what the astrological zodiac is based off of, and what traditional human design and gene keys are based off of. And one thing that no longer resonates with me is following those artificial astrological placements. Rather, I prefer to follow the true sky. Like when you hold up your phone with the stellarium app in the sky and point towards the moon, see what constellation it actually is transiting through right now. That's true sky. That's true sidereal astrology. And that is the human design and gene keys interpretation that I prefer moving forward. It's what resonates with me. I'm not saying that, the other way is wrong. I actually have learned a lot from tropical astrology and my original gene keys and human design charts. However, I feel like the true sky versions are a more accurate depiction of who I am evolving into currently. And so if you're interested, I do offer a reading that kind of spans those two things. So the tropical version of your charts and the true sky version of your charts. And we call it the bridge report. If you're interested in that, it might give you a little confirmation about this journey that you're going through. It's called the Neo Bridge Report because essentially what you're doing is you're crossing a bridge from your old identity into your new identity. You might feel like you don't really have a foot on either side of those. You're like, I don't even have one foot on this side and one foot on the other. I'm kind of in between. Yes, you are. You are on a bridge and it is okay. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the view on either side of that bridge and just keep walking forward with faith in yourself and faith in the divine love that holds you at all times. All right. If this resonated, I am just, the whole point of this was to let you know you are not alone. And if what I've said sounds like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm going through, and you would like somebody to walk with you, that is who I hold space for. People who are going through this same kind of situation and don't want more information, don't need information overload. You're probably already feeling information overload. If you just want a safe place to reflect and realign and get grounded and feel okay with going across this bridge phase of life, this transitional liminal space in your life, that's who I hold space for. And that's what we do in a Neo session. So you'll find ways to work with me below. And if and when that feels supportive, I would love to meet you on the other side. Until then, I hope that you are being kind to yourself during this January, the beginning of this Gregorian New Year, and that you are allowing yourself the spaciousness to flow into the new year that has yet to actually begin, because it will begin in February. All right. Until next time, be well and show up for yourself.